Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We are coming at you from Las Vegas. And can we get a shot before those sponsors? Can we get a shot of the crew at Kent? We've got a lot of family members in the house. Hi, guys. So good to see you out there. I realized my partner, Becky, is there in the crowd instead of putting her up here on the screen. So, Becky, if I missed something, holler, okay? So a couple announcements here before we start. Number one, we can put that sponsors back. So we've gotten some more sponsors this week. I just have to say thank you, all of you guys. Thank you so much for getting the word out. We have our annual Walk or Run for Recovery coming up on Saturday, May 13th in Auburn, the same place as it's always been. And you guys, the registrations are rolling in, so thank you very much. If you haven't registered yet, get your registrations in, gather your teams, there's still time. And thank you for reaching out to those people you know, your organizations, your bosses, all your companies. Thank you so much. You can see all the sponsors are rolling in. We've still got room for more, of course. It's so helpful, so thank you so much. You know, it's sponsorships that really help a fundraiser like this go above and beyond and cover more than the expenses. So it's really where the sponsorships are that really makes a difference for us. So thank you so much for spreading the word. And if anybody needs help registering, you can reach out to Becky or I. If you're not tech savvy, reach out. But you can go on our website, battlefielladdiction.com, click on events, click on Run for Recovery for all the details. We want you all out there. We'll be flying up to Seattle for it. We'll be there for the week. We're super excited to see y'all. So that's that. And then tomorrow morning, all you moms out there, or ladies, all ladies, whether you're a mom or not, all ladies are welcome to the Mob. That's every Wednesday, 11 a.m. We all just hop on Zoom for an hour and have our coffee together, and this is just an opportunity that we get to just get to know each other more. We talk about the topic from the night before. It's just been one of our favorite events of the week. So join us. If you haven't joined us yet, you're in good hands. If you can just be there every so often, that's great. I know lots of you work, so maybe you can't be there every week, and that's okay. So just join us when you can, 11 a.m. If you need the Zoom link, reach out to me and I'll get it to you. Okay, so let's go back over to the Kent crew there, and let's get another view of the Kent's room. Let's see. Yeah, we've got Kyle. Okay, so if you're new here tonight, let me introduce you to Mr. Kyle Munkers. He is a manager over there at Rebuild Recovery at the Kent location, and he also brings us our comedy each week. So he is here to bring you Kyle's Corny Comedy Corner. So take it away.
All right. I was going to start off with a joke about paper, but it's terrible. It gets even better. Can February March? No, but April May. Last night I slept like a log. I woke up in the fireplace. What do you call a fly without wings? A walk. What state is the most famous for extra small drinks? Minnesota. Yeah, there's a couple good ones. How does a penguin build his house? He glues it. It glues it.
I don't get it.
Igloo.
Okay. Still don't really get it.
Maybe I should have said Eskimo.
I didn't know penguins had igloo.
They're smart.
Okay.
I didn't know they had glue.
Yeah. Make them more. What? This one's a good one.
You can't say that, Kyle.
What? This one's a good one. What does a monkey call his private parts? The orangutan. Did you guys Did you guys hear that rumor that's going around about butter? Well, I'm not going to spread it. What's a prostitute's favorite vegetable? Her peas. Yeah. I went to McDonald's and ate a kid's meal. His mom was pissed. You gotta hand it to short people. They can't reach.
Oh, Renee.
That's it.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. That was great. Thank you. Oh, wow, look at that full house over there in Kent's. Art's in town and they all come. Look at that. Beautiful.
Weather's
Beautiful.
nice. Can you hear us, Ange?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. Oh, okay. Sounds good. I was a kid from the time I was when I was 5 years old. I decided I was going to be a professional football player. I was going to play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. At the time, Danny White was the quarterback, but I knew I could beat him. And, I was a big Cowboys fan. And at 5 years old, I used to go out on Sundays. Back then, just so you got younger kids understand, there was 4 channels or 5 channels on your TV. You had Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 11, and Channel 13. And then as we were getting a little older, Channel 22 came in to play. They had some different, but it was on a different frequency. You had to go to like UHF or whatever it was, and you had to switch over, and but you got a thing called a TV guide. So in the Seattle Times, you open up the Seattle Times, and I take 2 things out of the Seattle Times. I take the sports page, put it over here, and then I'd take the TV guide and I'd put it over here, and I'd line up my week of sports. Whatever football games were coming on, I got to, know. So then as when I got to be 8, I got to join the Kent Vandals and become an 89er. No clue that I was smaller than everyone, and so I went out to be an 89er, and they told me, not yet, you can't play, you're under the weight thing. So I had to wait, and then I got to play with the kids a year younger than me next year. So I was like 10 years old on the 89ers, and I was about 4'2", and I believed this story that I was going to play quarterback. I truly believed it. I carried a football around all the time. That's just what I did. I was going to become a quarterback, and then the devastation happened when I was in 7th grade and never got on the football field. I played, but I was a scrub. I was looking around like, what's going on? Like, why don't they see my talents? Why aren't I able to get out there? But I was like half the size of everyone, and just would get murdered on the football field. So at some point, the news showed up for me, and the headline read, "You're not going to play quarterback," and that really started a kind of a downward slide of like this crisis I went through, because now what am I going to be? Now what the hell am I going to be? I can't be a quarterback. What am I going to be? I wasn't that good looking. I wasn't fast. I wasn't that talented. I wasn't that bright. I couldn't go and join the band or play an instrument, and I couldn't really get a 4.0, and maybe I could have if I would have tried. But on and on and on, I just kind of got lost, and then I found booze. And when I found booze, it was this great thing, because when I found booze, I also found my identity. And I can remember identifying as a alcoholic in 7th grade. Identifying as an alcoholic all the time. I drank. I would come drink during the day. I thought it was really cool. I thought everyone, oh, there's Art. He's drinking. He's on the bus. And I would tell everyone, let's drink. I'd involve everyone in drinking. I would sneak around. And I identified as an alcoholic pretty early, and that's what I became very fairly quickly. We sit in this, what I call my life is I sit in a laboratory. And although I hear all the information about addiction and all the trauma talk and all the stuff that's going on in the world and the therapy talk and all that, I sit here and I just collect facts of what we see. And I want to, tonight would be a way to tell you that I think that we could do drug and alcohol prevention, or a drug addiction prevention, rather, like firemen nowadays. Luckily, firemen has become so good at their job that they spend a lot of time doing fire prevention rather than putting out fires. And I believe that's so because it's so necessary that there's not fires. So it's just so necessary there's not fires. So rather than just waiting for fires to happen, they actually go back in and do something to prevent it, which is pretty smart. It's probably one of our only problems as a society that we actually prevent. There's no other problem that we really work on to try to prevent. We just wait for it to happen and then take care of it. So early on, when I started, and this is a philosophical thing, so just so you know, whenever I talk about this, this is all like what addiction does to people is fairly scientific. It does about the same thing to everybody, and you could predict accurately what somebody's going to go through and how it's going to end for them. And it's so scientific. It's more scientific than almost anything that I ever seen. It's like you're not hypothetically screwed when you become an addict. You're scientifically screwed. There's no way out. You're going to go down this progression slope. That's it. And so, but on the cause of addiction and on why people start becoming that, that's all philosophy. Some people say they know, and some people that say they don't know. So every time we talk about what we think might cause this, I think that it's all philosophical, and it doesn't mean it's true. And for me, what I see now, sitting in the laboratory, is Noah Levine, who started Refuge Recovery, who's huge in LA and huge across the country, and Refuge Recovery became a Buddhist type of recovery program, and his partner was Dave Smith, and Dave Smith's a friend of mine, and we got to know them fairly well, and we used to watch a lot of what Noah said and what Dave said, and they said the same thing about they were asked, how do you prevent some parent, what would you tell a parent of a young kid to prevent addiction? And their answer was the same thing. It was normalize pain. They said the same thing. They said you would normalize pain. In fact, you might want to put in things that inflict some pain, so they have to accept it. So they, get told no, get told no, get told no. Kind of like that's how you would stop addiction. Now, they didn't say don't abuse your kids. They didn't say don't get divorced. They didn't say anything about that. They just said they said normalize pain. And that would actually be the opposite of this whole thing that trauma is the center of this thing. So I don't see it that way. What I see is a lot of the same things happen to a lot of the people that are here. What we don't teach. People come here and then it's this idea that you're going to find yourself. You're going to find yourself. And everyone needs to find themselves. You got to get to know yourself. Parents always say, they got to find out who they are. Well, why didn't we teach them who they are? So my thing is no longer, I don't even think normalizing pain will do it anymore. Because I think that the cause is a little different now. I think what's happening now is we not only teach people who they are, we don't teach them that. Not only that, we offer a smorgasbord of identities. And we say, here's all these identities. Pick one. And not only that, we prompt them to pick one. And we say, you got to have an identity. You got to be someone. You got to get known for something. And that way, these kids have to pick from these already inherent identities that we've already have. They're all out there right now. Vegan, trans, whatever it could be, an athlete or a cheerleader or band member or whatever, and they're already there. And it's gotten worse because now and not only do I think this is the cause of addiction, or that it could be, I think that it's happening in our country everywhere. What we have now is the most divided country, the most crazy, if anyone doesn't feel that this is the most crazy time in American history, that people are just nuts, that we've lost our mind. And I believe the insanity is that what we have is we have a smorgasbord of identities, a buffet. People pick one and then go to war. And notice now, it used to be your identity came through like how you were. Your identity somebody might be a garbage man. I was thinking about the word garbage man the other day, and I was like, geez, Is that still politically correct? Do you still can say garbage man? Could you say trashy woman? You can't say you can't say trashy woman, but you can say garbage man. You know? So I was thinking about that, but that used to be somebody's identity, a garbage man, a mailman. You know, we used to have these like kind of vanilla, bland, a guy that was in the shoe business, or a guy that was a businessman, or a hardware store owner, or whatever. And the identities were so pure and innocent. They were just things that you could become, and you were just known for what you do, and you're also known for your values. So you were known as hardworking, or you were known as honest, or you were known as a person of integrity. That's not the case anymore. What we have now is people just picking an identity, and I want you to see that in each one of these identities that people pick right now, two things are inherent. The pain of being that person is inherent. It's already there. You're going to go through pain. And the actual enemies are already there. Pick anything. Go ahead. Be a vegetarian. Who's your enemy? Oh, you got cattle farmers. Already an inherent. I mean, be a dog lover. Who's your enemy? Oh, those stupid cat people. I mean, it's every single identity that you pick right now is filled with inherent enemies. You can't say. I can't even say like, you know, I don't even I can't identify as a What if I identify as a treatment center owner? Well, I have inherent enemies, people that don't believe in the treatment center. You can't even be scientist anymore and not have enemies. If you say the word scientist is your identity, people are like, oh, you're politically bought. Yeah, you can't be religious. You can't. None of these, all of them. And inherently, so no longer can we normalize pain because pain is aspired. People are aspiring. I'm going to get this identity. This identity is already known for a victim. Oh man, they started doing it to drug addicts. I don't remember when exactly it switched, probably when the AMA said it was a disease. And that started the progression thing. But at some point, drug addicts used to be the villains. We were the bad people. We were drug addicts. We were the outlaws. We were the bad people. Now drug addicts are the victim. So now it's like, and the people came to create this thing. And so now everyone says, oh, you're a victim, and now drug addicts, lo and behold, take on this victim identity. You tell people enough that addiction is caused by trauma, people start looking and going, oh, where's my trauma? Where's my trauma? I think a lot of us have sat there and went, they say it's caused by trauma. I got to figure out what it was that got me. Oh yeah, I was 5 and my dad yelled at me, or we got divorced, or whatever it is. That doesn't mean trauma doesn't occur. That's what we'll end up doing. So inherently now when you become a drug addict, the struggle's already there. You don't need to create it. You don't need to do anything. It's already there. You know exactly what the person is going to be through. And I think it's fairly suspicious. I think it's fairly suspicious that we've gotten to a place where, well, if you're a conservative, what do you believe in? Well, you don't believe in abortion. You believe in fiscal responsibility, whatever it is. But it's already inherent. You cannot seem to be just like with all these identities, you can't seem to be a Republican and also don't want guns. You just can't do it. Just not possible to be a free thinker. No way. And your enemies are already there. You're an enemy to the Democrats. You're an enemy to the liberals. And the same thing over here on the liberal side. You pick a side, your enemies show up, and your pain shows up simultaneously. Here you are. And it used to not, generally, it wasn't this easy. It wasn't this easy to become a victim. It wasn't this easy to become somebody that was painful. You know, I don't identify as a treatment center owner, but I remember when I did buy a treatment center, I tried to start identifying as a treatment center owner, and what I thought was genius was I went to the mall and I got me a bunch of like slacks. And I hadn't had any slacks in a lot of years, but I bought a treatment center, and the next day I'm coming in a button-up and some slacks and some wingtip shoes and shit, and running around like, you know, walking around with a clipboard or whatever the hell I was doing. But they told me I'm a treatment center owner, so now I got to go, well, what the hell's that? Shit, I got to figure out what that means. I got to be just like all that. We got all the insanity. You got doctors right now. It's like, what is a doctor? Well, get me a white coat. I'm a doctor. And you know, he gets done with school and he's like, finally the white coat. You know, geez. And it's like, it's just, and then his enemies are inherent and his pain is inherent. And there's no way to normalize pain anymore because people aspire to be in pain. People aspire to suffer, and that's the competition now. It's which identity do I pick that is the most suffering? Which one do I grab that has the most juice, that the most people will look at and go, poor you. And we're not, my friend, I dated this girl, and her brother was 12. We were young, and he was 12, and his name was Yoshi. It was a Japanese family, and Yoshi, I went down with Yoshi on a Friday night to see him perform. He was performing at Seattle University, and he was a concert pianist. And Yoshi's performance, so we went down, and I watched this little 12-year-old kid in the tuxedo sit up on the stage and play the piano, and the crowd cheered, and it was beautiful. And this is what this kid's done since he was like 8 or 7. He's done these concerts, and he's still doing it to this day. But I thought to myself, even back then, I thought, looking back on that, I think, no way he was ever going to become a drug addict. It just did not fit his identity. It didn't fit that, and he got enough validation for who he was that he just didn't need to become a drug addict. It was good enough. And you see, on and on. But now it's gotten different, because even an athlete who went on to become an athlete, and we used to say, well, an athlete wouldn't become a drug addict. It's not in their identity anymore. But now you see it. It's okay. Now you see it even more and more. Athletes, why did they become drug addicts? Yeah, it's the new thing. It's the new thing. Get injured, become a drug addict. It's just the new thing. It's like the new hit. So now, yeah, now it's like the same story over and over. And I think it's fair. I think that we really got to start looking at the suspicion of this, of how is it that we're not teaching somebody who they are, really? So who we are and what we're trying to talk about here, in the recovery world, you talk about it, a spiritual awakening. It's talked about in the big book, and it's talked about everywhere. It's talked about all in recovery forms, and anyone who's recovered from drugs and alcohol, seemingly they've had a spiritual awakening, a psychic change. And that's just everywhere you'll hear it. And to understand this, what it means to have a spiritual awakening, I went on a 10-year, 12-year, 14-year journey. I went on a journey to understand what a spiritual awakening is. But really what a spiritual awakening is a simple thing of finding out who I am. Just finding out who I truly am. And as I went on that path, and I learned, and I got taught who I was. And what I got taught was, and what I learned was, that I was not my identity. That I was not my body, that I was not my mind, that I was not my thoughts, that I was none of those things. That what I was an untethered soul. And I read the book Untethered Soul, and it was beautiful, because I found out that I am just a spirit. That I am a spirit having a human experience, and that I just got put in here. I got put in this body you call known as art, and I got put in here, and now I just have to be art. And now, and as a spirit, we don't teach people to live in spirit. We're not teaching young people, hey, be available, be present, be here with your family. It's not, your identity is not who you are. Do you want to transition and have an identity of trans or any of those things? But it's not who you are, your identity. It is your glove. So teaching people that the identity is just a glove, and that you're the hand. And all through your life, you've had hundreds of different roles and identities that you've played. But you didn't change. You were the hand under each glove that was put on. I was a young student, and then I was a college student, and then I was a college dropout, and then I was a drug addict, and I was a poker player. All that thing, all those things have changed. But what remained constant was who I am. Who I am is the witness, this person who knows about all these identities. You guys aren't muted, Ange?
Sorry. She's not going to know.
So what is this? So rather than two things. So I'm going to do drug and alcohol prevention. Well, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to teach a youngster, and hopefully teach my kid when I have my kid. I'm going to teach my kid that two things. One, to normalize his pain. And also, your identity is not who you are. And we're so prompting people right now. It's not even that. It's not even that we're not teaching people that this stuff. It's worse than that. It's like we're teaching the game. We're saying, get in the identity game. Hurry up. You got to be known. I'm a parent. I need to be known that my kid is this. And we need to tell. I can't go to the family reunion and tell my kid that he's nothing. Well, what's your kid? Well, he's pretty present. that doesn't play really well. He's available. He's not tied up and wrapped up in his identity. No, get on Facebook, get who you are, get some followers, get known, become something, and look at how all the kids are jumping into it. All the youngsters are jumping in. They're not known for how they behave. They're known for their identity. And their identity is already inherent. The behavior is inherent. I already know it. I can drive by, what do you see? And it's like not judgmental. It's just, okay, let's see. Kid going to have gauged earrings. All right, what is he going to think about? Oh, let me guess. He doesn't like society, doesn't like the structure of society, mad at the world, skateboarding, whatever. And it seems to be that these identities don't have any uniqueness anymore. They don't have anything. It's just, there's no unique Republicans. There is no unique Democrats. There's no unique there's nothing unique in it. There's no one here's the program. It's like jumping into a spacesuit, and the program's already inherent in the spacesuit. You have no options anymore once you jump in there. Your enemies are inherent. Your pain is inherent, and there's just nothing. And then you're in the game, because now and everyone's taking their identity so seriously. It's like, are you serious? You're taking it so seriously. Just drive to the airport. Oh my God, the airport. I can't even be in, guys with the Bluetooth thing in their ear, they're walking around the airport. What do you do? Well, I sell a lot of shit. Well, going down to the conference meeting down here, and I'm going to sell some shit. And it's like, I sell a lot of shit. Do you see my award for selling the most shit? It's like, it's so ridiculous. And they're taking it so seriously. They got the suit on. And it's like, have you guys lost your mind? What we are is this projector, a presupposing of a non-existent thing, seeking salvation from a non-existent thing. This was a description of addiction, a presupposing of what that means is, I presuppose an identity. I create an identity. I jump into that action figure's life. Then I do drugs to escape the life of that action figure. That's the insanity of it. So now I create this identity of this person who's in pain and struggles and traumatized, and I jump in there, and lo and behold, I take on the characteristics of that person. I get a little dark and whatever I do, and all of a sudden now I take on that pain, and then I start doing drugs because of my identity. That's nuts. And it used to not even be that way. It used to be drug addict became the identity after you got addicted. Now it's like jump in. The other thing about it is homelessness. Prior to you two, I've had a lot of homeless people, and every time they come, none of them really have a disposition that being homeless is not something to be damn proud of. But people used to come to me and over and over, I never had a kid go, man, I've been homeless. I say, hey, man, where you at? He goes, I'm homeless. He's proud of it. He's proud of that. He's proud of being homeless. And I see it a lot. And it's a badge of honor. I wasn't just a drug addict. I was a homeless drug addict. And you're not as good if you weren't a homeless drug addict. Oh, you still had your home? You aren't as good as me. And so now we're taking on these identities, and even going further with it. But to teach somebody who you are, I'm a spirit and I'll stick to anything. I'm this sticky spirit, you see? So that's what we are. We're this spirit that's been put in here, and we just want to glob onto shit. I remember I had a guy that I played poker with when I first got into the poker scene, and his name was Corvette Bob. Guess what car he drove? Here comes Corvette Bob, dipshit, riding up in the Corvette. He was in every Corvette club every Sunday, him and his friends. It's like, that's a car, dude. That's a car. Are you seriously taking yourself seriously? And guess who the enemy of the Corvette people was? Yeah, hated Mustangs, obviously. You don't even have to know. Oh, you drive a Corvette? Just Chevy and Ford. I drive a Chevy. Fords are stupid. It's like, they're the same. It's the same shit. What are you talking about? It's ridiculous. But to identify in that, my inherent enemies are there. Hardware store owner, we're now, whatever identity now has inherent enemies. Hardware store owner, who do you got to hate? You got to hate Lowe's and the thieves. You got to hate Home Depot. Yeah, drug addicts. You know, it's comical. It's comical. And to get to get us to a point where we understand who we are is to understand that you've been tons of identities. And you might identify as something, but that is just a glove you put on. And you are this hand underneath. And when it gets hot and heavy and the pain of being that identity is out there, just pull back and observe and just look. You don't have to struggle with the same struggles that everybody does. That you don't have to be inherently programmed to have enemies. You could actually be a vegetarian that went, I just don't like meat. You don't have to hate. You don't have to inherently have enemies. And so I really believe this is true, that this cause, you think young people are lost? Absolutely. You think that all of us didn't get lost? Absolutely. People are lost. And they're lost because they're searching for all these fraudulent identities. And nobody's talking about values anymore. Nobody's talking about hard work, honesty, commitment, your word. It didn't matter what you did. That wasn't your identity. It mattered how you did it. There was people who worked at Boeing. Working at Boeing was not their identity. It was how they worked at Boeing. It was how many days they showed up and didn't miss a day of work. It was how many days they never called in sick. It was 30 years of working for Boeing and people going, I've never called in sick. I'm there every day. And being at Boeing had to do with the values you were, not the identity you were. You didn't just get to run around. And so for me, and there it was, and they told me right when I got sober, they said, guess what? From the day when I got sober and walked into my first meeting, they told me to grab a new identity. They said, little Art, you've been lost. You got an identity crisis. You couldn't become a football player. No one taught you who you were. Then you became a drug addict, and that's who you were. You lived that identity and that pain. And then you got sober. And guess what we need from you right now? We need you to state your new identity. So I had to raise my hand and say, hey, I'm Art. I'm an alcoholic and addict, and I'm in recovery. And there it was. Now it's my new identity. And they said, you'll never lose that one. Everywhere you go, you need to say it. And if I went into a meeting and go, I'm not an addict anymore, they went, boo! Boo! How dare you? How dare I what? Say I'm not something that I'm aspiring to not be? I'm aspiring to not be an addict. Why can't I say I'm not an addict? But they said, nope, you need an identity. And then people get their little recovering drug addict identity. I have 41 sponsors. I go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I go to 180. I go to meetings. Here's my big book. I got my NA tags. I got all my coins. It's like, what? And then every day you're trying not to do drugs, but you're like going to another meeting to remind you to try not to do drugs, and every day becomes, and then they go one day at a time, and they never go, hey, one glorious day at a time. That's recovery. One glorious day. They go, it's one agonizing day at a time. You just sit here, and when it just gets too much, just go to a meeting and say you're an addict. It's insane. Can I have Christian beliefs without identifying as a Christian? Yes. Can I have Muslim beliefs without identifying as a Muslim? Yes. Can I have Buddhist beliefs without identifying as a Buddhist? Can I go to NA without saying I'm a recovering addict and just go and just know that truly who I am is a spirit here, sitting in spirit? That's what the spiritual awakening says. I am a spirit. I am not Art. I am not my identity. I'm not who you think I am. I'm this untethered soul in here. And I will leave, and Art will lay there like a bag of bones, and it'll just be left on the floor. But I'll be gone somewhere. My spirit will leave this body. If you ever seen, when I seen my dad, I knew the moment his spirit left. I knew. I was with him when he died, and I knew exactly the point. And they even put him in the hospital in the ambulance after I left. And my mom called me from the ambulance, and she said, "They've got a heartbeat. And I said, "Dad's gone. I saw him leave, Mom." And then I showed up at the hospital. Of course, he was gone. I saw it. So we are this spirit. We're not this bag of bones. We're not this body. So finding out who you are cannot be a new identity. It can't be a new action figure that you put on. You're not your story. You're not your past. You're none of these things. So to get to a point where where your primary thing to be is in spirit, available, connecting, open. Here I am. I'm not playing a role. Not here. I just try to struggle to go to a doctor's office. They come in. I'm like, dude, they get out the computer. They're looking on that computer when I'm in the room. What did we talk about last week? And it's like, dude, I'm Art. I'm over here, man. Like, we just talked 5 days ago. You've forgotten everything? It's like, what the hell? We got to go through this again? And that's because he's playing the role of a doctor. 19 patients a day, every hour, got to go in. And it's like, hey, dude. And then I found a doctor one time in Federal Way, and he came out, and he wasn't even wearing a white coat. He just came in like a sweatshirt and a hoodie. "What's up, Art?" "Hey, how's it going, man?" I like that. He didn't identify as a doctor. So we have to look at the silliness of this and the cause of all this. This is an identity crisis. This is jumping into a shitty identity and then, lo and behold, having the struggle of that identity, because it's already inherent. There's no way out. You're not gonna go ahead, try to become a Republican that doesn't be a Republican. Try to be a Democrat that's not a Democrat. You're not gonna be able to do it. You can't free think anymore. You got to join. You got to identify. You can't be who you are. You got to be who we say you are. And this excruciating life that we're living, living the pain of identities and living and keeping up this facade and this fakeness is exhausting. And it doesn't matter if it's fentanyl or meth or what it is. Something else is coming, because the identity game sucks bad enough. Because it hurts bad enough when your identity loses. Because it sucks bad enough when that identity crashes, that you need pain relief. And you'll do gambling or shopping or sex. It doesn't matter what the buffet is. What's on the buffet, but everyone's eating. It don't matter. Complaining, sex, shopping, drugs, gambling, anger, yelling, whatever it is. That's all from the pain, not of you. It's not your pain. It's the story of your identity's pain. That's what it is. When Angie lost her son, she had to have that identity. It was already inherent. You need to mourn. You need to grieve. You cannot rejoice. You cannot be happy. And to the point where, as Angie lived her life after she lost her son, whether she was happy or not, she didn't want to be happy. Because society had told her, "You've lost a kid. You know how you need to behave. Don't try to be happy." She was even at a point where she didn't want to go get coffee and enjoy coffee. Because after her son died, she did not want to sit and enjoy coffee, and she didn't want people looking at her like she's enjoying something. That's how bad it is. That's how crazy we are. Instead of saying, "Hey, you lost your son, let's rejoice and be happy with his life." We still do. We try that thing now, though, where we tell people it's a celebration of life. Oh, seems a lot like a funeral here. I haven't went to one of those where I went, this doesn't even seem like a funeral at all. People partying, celebrating. No, it's a funeral. We're trying to masquerade it. We're not celebrating this person's life. We're mourning. We're getting as much juice as we can about how we're victimized. Every kid that's ever died in my program, all of a sudden, the day they are on Facebook, they have 31 best friends. My best friend just died. It's like, dude, you didn't even talk to that dude. Over and over. So now we're globbing onto that, the identity of a loss. So no wonder we're all in so much pain. Presupposing of a non-existent thing, seeking salvation from a non-existent thing. I'm not my identity, but I jump in there and I act like I'm the glove, and then I hate the glove. Well, what am I going to do? Well, I could do drugs to get out of that. That sucks. And that's it. And all the gloves are at war. And I wonder what we'd be like as a country if we just wore some white robes and ate. In America, though, it wouldn't be that way. If we said, hey, in America, what we're going to do is we're just going to all farm and we're going to eat some food and we're going to sit by the fire and chill out. That would last for a little while, but then somebody goes, you see my fire? It's bigger than your fire. Have you seen how much wood I've got? Oh, we're growing carrots. Have you seen my carrot? Kills your carrot. That's how it'd be. We'd instantly, it's the identity competition of America. And it would instantly be, let me see how much juice I can get out of my identity. Can't sit here and just be with my family and be present and love and be kind and eat. And nope, can't do that. We all got families sitting around at home with each other. And then the whole family goes, we can't be with each other. We have to get out in the world and prove our identities tonight. We got to go. I got to work tomorrow. I got to go prove who I am. I got to get out there. We can't be together. We don't have any time. Nope. Go to school. Prove who you are. We're going to go to work. We're going to get home. Get your homework done. Hurry up. Then get to bed because you got to get up tomorrow and do that shit again. Well, did we hang out together? No. We don't do that anymore. We don't put any premium on a dinner, on sitting and saying we had dinner together. We put no premium on any time that we spend together. And if families spend a little bit of time together, they just get it on Facebook as quick as possible. Look at what we're doing. We're better than your family. See? We're competing as a better family now. And no wonder we're in such a mess. Across the board. It's just a mess. All the gloves are at war. And everyone lost in the idea that they're the glove. Identities warring. Battles ensuing. And it's so predictable. All you have to tell me is a few things about your kid. If you've come to this program, you tell me a few things, I will tell you how your kid will behave here. And I'm sorry. I hope it's not judgmental, but I'm sorry, but that's what they'll do. And that's just experience. Oh, they identify as that? Okay. I see how it's going to be. Never a free thinker. I remember in high school, they used to call them the goth people. We had the band, the goth, the athletes, and then kind of just a mid-range, normal group of people. That was our categories. Band members, athletes, nerds. Yeah, the smart kids that were nerds. I always told them, if I have a kid, I want him to be a nerd. But and we had all these categories. But then I remember at the goth people, they wanted to be different. They did. But they all dressed the same. It's like all you had to do is say the word goth. And I know, you wear white. Your face is very white. You wear black. That's not unique. That's not free thinker. It's suspicious and horse shit. You know? So we're in this thing and people come. And what I'm trying to do with people is say, let me show you who you are. And the way we figure out who we are is by what we're not. Because everything that we can see, we're not. So it's like we're this projector. We project all these things that we're not, but we're not none of those things. We're the projector. And so people, but that's not good enough for people. So actually get into a place where you understand no matter what your identity goes through, you don't have to go through that. You just don't have to do that. You can just be present. You can just be available. And then when you want to go play in the identity game, go play. Sometimes I like to play in the identity game. Hey, I'm a treatment center owner. Whatever it is, I like to play. You know, I'm a poker player. I'm married. I'm a husband now. You know, I like to play in the game. But it's not serious. And we get to a point where we understand who we are, and then we travel lighter. It's not so heavy. You don't need to live with the doom and gloom of your identity. You have mental illness stuff? Cool. That's your plight. That's what you're going to go through. Cool. But then start identifying as a mentally ill person? Oh, no. you're in trouble because there's no way out of that. What are you going to do? You're starting to get all your acknowledgement and validation through your problem. Early on, we found a group. Me and Angie started Battlefield Addiction, and there was a rival group. And it was called we had parents of addicts that came on and talked about, and then there was the rival group, the addict's mom. And I thought, wow, what a thing to identify as. And lo and behold, they were all victims of the addict. They all pointed out how bad they got it, how they've been victimized, and you went on there, and everyone was whining. One person would say, my addict went back out, and then everyone would go, oh no. And everyone would rally, and it's, and we said, well, why don't we have a page where people don't identify as that, and that maybe it's just a problem. Maybe that having an addict kid is like something that needs a solution. And that's why we came up with Solution Group, because it's like not an identity group. You don't get to come and identify as, and you go to Al-Anon and they'll go, my qualifier. And that's it. They have to state their qualifier. They have to say, this is what brings me here because I have this my addict, my qualifier. It's like, stop. And there's no website that says the tow truck driver's mom. The kid that needs knee surgery's mother. It's not out there because there's no juice in that. Nobody's going to celebrate you or validate you for that. So hopefully, if you got questions or anything and want to comment on this, but to me, I sit in this laboratory and I see it every day. You're having an identity crisis. You don't know who you are. And the drugs gave you an identity. The drugs made you, at the very least, if they didn't give you an identity, they made you free from the identity game. They gave you relief from thinking about your identity. So at least that happened. And you are having a crisis. And you do need to figure out who you are. So that you're not laying victim going forward to any of these poor identities that you could get trapped in. Oh, we can comment on that, talk, ask. Maybe someone's struggling. Maybe your identity's struggling. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe you don't know who you are.
I just want to say, like always, it's a beautiful message. It's so easy to see the drug addiction as a glove, and just realizing you just take the glove off, take the drug addiction off, and I really identify or whatever, relate to that because it's easy to kind of psychopathic. I can just turn the button or turn the page or whatever, and I'm just
instant relief. Instant relief. Yeah. Even so far as look at how suspicious they'll tell you about early recovery. And they'll tell you how hard it is. And it's like, maybe not. Maybe not. But if you tell me enough, then it's going to be hard for me.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Because I can see where your identity becomes, you've got all this pain, so now you're going to be an addict, and you're an addict. But once you get into a really heavy addiction, the physical addiction takes over where the thought of detoxing and going through that is such a deterrent that you're just going to stay mad.
Sure. Well, the first of scooting it back a bit, I think the first thing that happens is not that you're in all this pain and that you decide you want to go get drugs to relieve the pain. I think the pain is caused already by not knowing who you are and already being inherently maybe without identity, without an identity that validates, without an identity that people are celebrating you for. And so that's painful. But that doesn't come from anything. That comes from the fact that that's what we teach here. That if right now, you can all look at it. Right now, you see a little kid in 8th grade, and they're going to 8th grade, and they're not on the football team, and they're not having friends, and they're not lost, and they're lost, and they don't have an identity, and nobody knows them. I'll show you a drug addict in the making. And that's not just saying that it's that particular kid, but they don't have an identity that validates. Therefore, as soon as I can just hop into the glove of drug addiction, and I got instant friends, and I got people that I can associate with and associates, and I got a peer group, and boom, I'm right in there. I'm in the mix. I'm in the mix.
That reminds me of when my sister was in junior high. My mom was so worried that she didn't have any friends. She was so worried. Like, it made her cry thinking about my sister not having any friends and not having that identity.
Yeah.
It really pushed her to have friends, and sure enough, she started partying and, pushed her right in the party crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find that.
Oh, you see it now. I already know. I smoked weed for a lot of years. But I now know if youngsters smoke weed and they tell me and their parents come here and go, my kid smokes weed, I'm going to go, oh, suicidal ideations? Yeah. Already know. Already know. Now, I don't know if it's the weed doing it or if it's the identity doing it. Philosophically, I don't know. I'm not telling you I have the answer. I'm just telling you that right now, dark, weed used to make people, remember when weed, being identified as a weed smoker meant you ate Doritos? You know, remember, you laughed, you were chill, you were relaxed, you're like, calm down, man. And we had, that was, nowadays, being a weed smoker means that you're dark, you're anti-culture, you're, these kids are adopting that. It's not everyone, but it's some of them.
That's weird. That's crazy.
Dark, need my weed to deal with this horrible world. It's crazy, So drug addiction prevention, Normalize pain and teach a kid to be present.
What are your thoughts if a person needs weed for physical pain?
That's fine. Yeah. I think everything's fine except for glomming onto and sticking to an identity that's inherently going to suffer. Everything's fine. I think, going to church is fine. Going to NA is fine. Going to AA is fine. Playing sports, fine. Whatever you do is fine. Democrat, fine.
But doing fed is not fine.
Yeah, well, that's not fine. But yeah, I mean, moderation to be able to do this stuff. And, and that's why we created a program here where not because we don't believe in anything, not because we don't have things that we want people to believe or see it our way or anything like that. But when I try to if you make somebody believe in something, that belief system will become their identity. And it's not, I believe this. It's, I believe this, therefore I'm better than you because I believe this. And if you don't believe this, you're not good enough. And that's what's going on. Rather than a healthy, well, I believe this. Oh, you don't? Okay. All right. Well, what do you do? What do you do? And that's why coming here, and hopefully I see kids that get sober here and they go, how'd you get sober here? And nobody can really tell. Nobody says their belief system. Nobody says, this is why you got to do it like this. Because everybody does it different. Nobody's doing it the same. But if you go over here, they'll tell you, you got to do it this way, and it's the only way. I remember they used to say, get a sponsor or die. I was like, what? Holy shit!
I just want to say, when I did treatment before, they, ingrained that in your brain, that you are powerless over drugs, and now you have to go to 3 meetings a day. You're always known as a drug addict.
Yeah.
Yep. And now being here, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm actually very powerful. I'm doing the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a drug addict. I don't have to go to 3 meetings a day.
No.
I can say no.
What an arbitrary number, too. And also an understanding that we are not creating our story. We're living into a story. That's what we're doing. And so if parents come to me and a parent sits down and brings their family member here, and then they say, addiction is a tragedy, we'll be very careful because it's going to be a tragedy for you. You're doing it. See, addiction isn't a tragedy. Addiction is beautiful. Addiction is a blessing. Addiction brings a human being to their knees and gets you to a point where you have enough humility to start changing your ways, where you start actually getting to a place where you look at yourself. Allie! So, you know, to say addiction is, we used to say addiction is just a simple conversation starter. Addiction is just how our family got here. It was the vehicle. Thank God, because now we're actually trying to learn to be with each other. We're actually trying to not be our identities. We're actually trying to be present. As soon as we try to be present and as soon as we try to be with each other, guess what we're battling? We're battling our identities as we try to sit with each other, because right here, as you're trying to be present with your family, this is telling you what you got to do to be somebody. This is telling you what you got to do right now. You can't be here with your family. You should be out doing this. You should be getting known with women. You should be out, whatever it is. And this thing never stops. People can't beat it. That's why you can't meditate. You can't meditate because your identity is nagging at you, telling you you're not enough. Telling you to hurry up and go do something. Don't sit still 20 minutes. That's too long. You don't have time for that. It's like there's 168 hours a week. Can't meditate 20 minutes. I don't have the time. Oh, God, what are you, the president of the United States? Jesus. You know, I didn't have time. I didn't have 5 minutes all day. God. Why? Because your identity is so important that you had to just keep running all day? Ridiculous. We never give it a rest. Give it a rest. So just like I said yesterday to you guys, put it down. Put it down and then pick it up. And when you pick it back up, use it as a play toy. Go play with it. Play with your identity. Create it. Understand that you're not it, so you can create it. You can do it however you want. You want to be known as hardworking? You want to be known as a person of values? Do you want to be known as an architect? Do you want to be known? What do you want? Go ahead and create it. But that's not who you are, because that'll pass. That is impermanent. It'll go away. Yeah.
Do you think if, I'm going to use, for example, a parent in a child's identity, so like me as a mom and Nico as my son, if we put that identities to the side, like he doesn't look at me as mom, even though he knows I am, but he looks at me as Renee and whatever. And if I don't look at him like a son that I need to protect, and I just look at who he is as a being, do you feel like when you remove those identities that our relationship will be?
Yeah, we got to get the roles out of the way.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. We got to get the roles out of the way. And that's what we're doing here. And that's what, when families come here, if you be very honest with yourself about being a parent, and about the fact that when your kid becomes an addict, it attacks your identity as a parent. There's an assault on your identity, and you're worried. And it is worrisome, and it sucks. But understanding that that's what it is. It's not an assault on you. It's an assault on your identity as a parent. And society's told you that if you have a drug addict person or something, it's so offensive. See, Gabor Mate was the biggest part of this trauma thing. And I always was really offended by him, because he's not a drug addict, but he has created a world where he said all addiction is from trauma. And I went, that's offensive to my parents. They worked their ass off. My mom cooked me breakfast every morning, drove me to school, picked me up from school, went to every sporting event. My parents took me on 5 vacations a year. They never hit me. They never abused me. They never got divorced. They never and I became an addict. So explain me, please. And if you're going to say, well, no, Art, you've had trauma, then everyone does. Everyone does. And to say that addiction comes from that is insane, because every one of us in this room has had the same kind of shit, the same kind of trauma. And half the people here did not become a drug addict. So why? Doesn't make any sense. So, getting to the place where we understand that it's all a facade. It's all not real. It's not parent, it's soul. It's spirit. And the thing about this awakening is getting to the place where your spirit, that's love. Love and connection is this place where our spirits, all the roles are out of the way. All that stuff's gone. So we just connect now. Now we're just sitting here, me and you, and I can see you. The spirit is so understood and I've always thought this was tremendously deep, that you could be riding in a car with someone. You could pick your friend up, ride in a car with them, and ride for 5 minutes, and then you have to ask your friend, where are they at? They're in the car next to you, and you know their spirit is gone. It's left. It's somewhere else. Lucas, right now, is over here, and guess what, guys? His spirit is somewhere else. He's thinking about the past or the future or some event that's going on in his life, and it has to do with his identity, and his spirit can't be here with us. He's not living in spirit. He's living in identity. And so we can tell. We can look around the room and we can go, who's the most present person here? And when we say who's the most present, we mean whose spirit was coming through the hardest. And you can ride with people and you know if they're present or not. How do we know that? There is some serious depth to that. Because we know you're a spirit and we can see if you're paying attention or not. We can see if you're there. And we know when a person goes, that they're thinking of the past. Or looking down, thinking of the past. Looking up, they're thinking of the future. We know. Spirit's gone. You know when a person's looking down, they're thinking about the past. When they're looking up, they're thinking about the future. You know, it's true. It's true. Past. Past. All right, more questions. Comments.
Open it up. You know what to do
trying.
out there. Use the raise your hand feature to get
Come on,
my
guys.
attention. Unmute yourself if you can't figure out the raise your hand feature. Who's got something? I saw a couple of new faces out there as well.
All right, Stephanie.
You know, it's crazy to me. Like, I've always been, like, my identity was everything. Like, I had to impress people. I had to do this. I had to do that. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how literally sitting here for 1 hour, you can change my entire freaking outlook on life.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
it's awesome to be able to experience that and then be like, okay, how am I going to put that in my life? Like, how am I going to try to work that into growing? You know what I mean? To realizing that I don't have to impress people. I don't have to do all these things to get this attention or everything like that to just be okay.
Okay, let me just tell you something though. I think that we do have to impress people. Okay, I think it's fine that we want to, and I think acknowledging that we want people to think of us well. You know, I've always had a problem with people saying what other people think of me is not my business. I think, geez, you should make it your business. I mean, really, you should care what other people think about you. I think it's how, though. We're not going to impress anyone through our clothes or our hair or our job or anything like that. It's how we do it. It's our response patterns to life that we want to be known for. Is this person kind? Are they honest? Do they work hard? Do they keep their word? Then it doesn't matter what your identity is. But underneath it, there's got to be some substance. And to impress people with this substance of the values of the way you live. It doesn't matter what you do. So I always known that I want people to like me. I want people to think of me well. I'm very disappointed when people don't think of me well. I struggle with that. And so my life is lived hopefully not for me, but to impress people. It really is. It's, I want to impress you guys. I didn't just go home today or just sit today and think all this up because I didn't want to impress people. It's there. You want to impress people. You want to make an impact. It's okay. But we're not going to make an impact by saying, oh, I finally reached the status of doctor. No matter how I had to cheat on my tests or no matter how I got there, now I'm a doctor. Screw off. Because nobody cares. So I think it's great. Now you can figure out, now you can play with it. Now you can go, yeah, I do want to impress people. How about I help some people? How about I show up? How about I'm available? How about when people talk, I listen? I don't look down and there. People want our attention. None of you parents want anything more than this, and you know it, What you want is your kid who's become an addict and who's struggled to be able to be there. You want them to be able to be present, sit and watch a movie with you, have some dinner, clean the dishes, and look each other in the eye and connect. That's all parents want when they bring their kid. They want the presence. They want their kid to have presence. And they can look at their kid. It was what my dad said to me right when I got sober. First day, he goes, your problem, your entire problem, is that you're never where you're at. He said, no matter where you're at, it's not good. You're somewhere else. And you need to learn to be where you're at. He didn't know mindfulness. He didn't know the teachings of the Buddha, but he understood me. He understood. I couldn't sit still. Restless, irritable, and discontent. What's restless, irritable, and discontent? The identity. It's not restless, irritable, and discontent when everybody's telling you how great you are. Nobody's like, oh, this sucks. Criticize, though. Now I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. People aren't thinking of me well. That's the restlessness. The restlessness of the identity. Struggling to be known and validated. I'm not known and validated. I'm not good enough, and I'm just so irritated. Something's got to give. It's insane. Presupposing of a non-existent thing, seeking salvation from a non-existent thing. Insanity. No wonder why they came up with the second step. We came to believe a power greater than ourselves would restore us to sanity. Spiritual awakening. Said you're not yourself. You're bigger than that. You're a power greater than that. You're the spirit. You're it. Untethered soul. I don't have to be sticky. I don't have to stick to everything. But I'll turn everything into my identity. Money. I'll turn money into my identity. My shoes. My haircut. My wedding ring. Whatever it is. Did you guys, you see it? Well, just for safety precautions. Last weekend I met my friends from high school, and we all went to this bar out in Kirkland. I drink coffee, they drink beer. But we went up to the bar, and just for I had my wedding ring around my neck because it's so uncomfortable, but for safety precautions alone, I had to put it on just to keep the women from flocking. They walk by. Stop. Back off. Yeah.
I just pop my dentures out.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
I mean, you get a couple. Yeah, you get a couple weird ones.
Drew, you have a question? Comment? Thoughts?
No, I'm taking it on, man.
Okay. All right. Becky?
Thinking, so growing up in the 60s and 70s, it was pretty ubiquitous in society that if you were, the values were first and foremost, like what you were talking about, and how you behave, and being honest, working hard, not infringing on other people, being a good citizen, and if you weren't, you were in trouble for it, whether like the neighbors, teachers, whatever. You were expected to behave right here, so where have we kind of gone wrong? Because, we're the parents that have kind of created a monster in a way. So where do you see, I still feel like I have those same values.
I don't think the parents. I don't think that that's true. I think that out here is all the identities that have been created, and I think if you just see the pathway to inherent suffering, through these identities that as a parent you're almost left, you're rendered useless because as they leave your house, they can't run around to any of their friends and go, hey, do you know I'm hardworking? Do you know I'm honest? It doesn't even matter anymore. In fact, you just even look at the workplace. It's like this new idea that if you work for corporate America, then you're supposed to quit. You're supposed to go to work but not go to work. It's like, okay, so you're against corporate America. Well, don't work for them at all then. Find a job that you won't be an asshole at. Find a job that you can put your heart into. But why go work for corporate America and then quit while you're working there and say it's because I hate corporate America? And it's all this new stuff that these identities and this counters, this everything that's against values and changed our values. What was wrong with hard work? What was wrong with never calling in sick? What was wrong with not using your vacation? People did that all the time. They ended up getting 2 years or 3 years off early retirement because they had saved up all their vacation. I mean, it's like, what's wrong with these things? And I think that, it's just the identities don't mix and match with those things anymore. It's like, it doesn't work.
We were all started, Becky, when we were taught that it wasn't okay to swat your kid with a paddle.
Because
we all got hit, right?
There was a half paddle.
I used to get sent to the vice principal's office and get swatted with big old paddles.
You did?
Yeah. There was always the teacher with the paddle. Yeah.
Some of these kids get swatted by a teacher. That's a horrible punishment.
You're right.
I got straight kids
Well, it's a combo of those things. But see, I don't even think that. I don't think even the discipline, it renders you so powerless that I don't even think that once the identity is grabbed onto, once the glove is put on by that youngster, then the punishment at home is just another plight. It's just another way they're being victimized. It's never a lesson anymore. It's never why did you get, it's my bad parents did this to me, and then go tell the kids that the parents are bad. So it becomes counterintuitive. You can't even, once the identity is globbed on, it's over. How many parents here took the door off their kid's room? How many parents here, it's the same shit, And it's like you're talking to a wall and you're trying to train the behavior of it's not going to work because the identity is cemented.
I do think, honestly, this society now, I had people like Becky and Bill who I thought had my back, but they really had my parents' back.
Yeah.
I had yours too.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
they would cater to, oh yeah, your mom can be whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, now that I'm grown, I realize that
It was best. Yeah.
they were keeping me in line
Yeah.
for my parents.
Yeah.
And these kids don't have that.
Mm-mm.
There isn't a mentorship that's in between their parents and them.
Yeah, there's no third parties supporting and advocating for parents,
And as a society, we've removed it.
Yeah, and it used to be the problem also is that it used to be a teacher at school, and teachers reinforced the parenting. But nowadays, the teachers are scared to get canceled. They're scared to do anything, so they can't say anything for the parents or against the parents. They got to actually take the kid's story. They got to listen to what the kid says, and no matter if he's 8, 5, got caught lying 100 times, they just listen to what the kid says about his parents and go. And you go in as a parent and go.
I think it's normal not to want to listen to your parents between 12 and 20.
And you needed people to say.
But you need people in your life, and where do these kids get that?
Yeah, and I would even go so far as I had 7 uncles growing up.
Yeah.
And if my uncle was over here spanking me, and my dad just look at me and go, what'd you do?
Yeah.
I mean, they were a team. They, adults were a team. Yeah. And you looked up to all adults and just went, oh shit, I don't care which adults I'm behaving around, but I better behave. And now these little identities are just counterculture cemented in not caring. I remember there was a meme I saw once, and it was like a guy, a little kid calling the cops on his father. And then he's like, he goes, the meme said, "Chill out, Bob. The cops are on the way." You know? It's like, that's what kids are. Just chill out. I've called the cops. You're going to be in big trouble for how you're treating me here at home. My dad had a 65 Mustang in 1965, and he drove around. He bought it brand new and then drove, and he was racing around Burien, and a cop pulled my dad over, and then a cop called my grandpa and said, "Come down," and then my grandpa beat my dad's ass in front of the cop. He didn't drive around town anymore, acting like an asshole after that.
Then as parents who put their kids in a treatment center, if it ever you've had a bad experience,
Yeah.
and they look at you like you've done something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm
Yeah.
actually a good parent.
Well, I would say 98% of kids saying they've had a bad experience in treatment is a lie. I mean, the amount of times, they have them, they exist. I'm not saying they don't, but you should see out of 100 kids that leave this program to go get high, not to go to a different treatment center. But there's always the suspicion. It's like, yeah, but see, if Angie was begging me to go to 24-hour fitness, and she's just begging and begging, saying, "Go to 24-hour fitness, please, go get yourself healthy, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym." And then I go to the gym, and I'm there a day, and then I text her, and I go, "The trainer here sucks, the equipment sucks, it smells, I can't stand this place." And then the next thing, I text her from McDonald's. Now, did I not like the gym, or did I want to go to McDonald's? You see, and I've never so far ever had a kid tell me they're having a bad experience here, which I know out in the treatment world there's bad experiences, but we just never had a kid here Googling another treatment center. We've never had one go, "Mom, come pick me up. This place sucks. Take me to another one." Not once. So it's very suspicious because they always say I'm having a bad experience, therefore I need to go get high. I need to go act how I used to be acting. I'm just going to go behave exactly like I used to behave. And it's never, it's very suspicious. And we've just had 100 people tell us that they're
Usually they had gotten high by then already.
yeah, a lot of times, yeah, or they've done something to, and never have we had a kid text his folks from the trap house and say, "The dope sucks around here, the bathroom's dirty, people are mean." Yeah. Never. "Mom, come get me out of this trap house. The people are mean. We're out of dope. There's no food. There's no toilet paper." One time I had a kid at the big house, though. He texted his mother.
Milk?
No. Shells in the eggs. Somebody made scrambled. "Mom, I got to get out of here. There's shells in the eggs." Yeah. It's like, shut up, dude. And the parents, they drop their kid off and they go, "Hey, my kid, just so you know," and they all say, "Just so you know, my kid, most manipulative kid you've ever seen." Like, this is predominantly almost all so manipulative, lies about everything. And then the kid gets with us for like a week and he tells the parents something that's going on here. Everyone's getting high. And the parents are like, "My kid says everyone's getting high." You mean the liar and manipulator? Yeah. That's another one. When somebody's getting high, they're said by someone getting high. Every time. Everyone here at this treatment center is getting high. And we're all looking at them like, "Dude, it's you." It's not everyone, it's you, and then you brought it for 3 other people. Yeah. Not once have we had someone go, "I'm going to a different treatment center, and everyone's getting high around here." Not once. So it's all suspicious. Who's next? One more. We got time for one more. Or we can close. Yeah.
You talked about prevention in the beginning. So you talked about these identities and how they latch on, but how would we have prevented that from happening?
Okay.
Can you repeat the question? Because we couldn't hear.
We talk about
Prevention.
we talk about prevention, and she said, "How, as a parent, how would you really do that, considering the conditions of what's going on in the schools and what's going on out there?" By teaching a kid to be present, by teaching them what presence is, by teaching them who they really are. What you are is the awareness of all these things. What you are is a spirit. And you can have these identities, but that's not who you are. And you can have a story, but that's not who you are. And you can go through this, but that's not who you are. And you can go through that, and you can get diagnosed with this, but none of that's who you are. So teaching a kid to be available and present, and saying, sit, and then normalize pain. No, and here's why. No, you can't go stay at your friend's house tonight because here's why. Because as people that stay at their friend's house when they're younger, they start developing bad patterns and they start having no discipline and no routine and they can't manage their life. And so I love you too much to let you go stay at your friend's. You need to stay here. And you know, and then no. And you know, no, because I said so is a lot better than yes. It just is. For, in my opinion, not for everyone, but for people that are aspiring to be drug addicts. You know? You know. No, because I said so really is a thud that you need to learn how to handle. I saw a little clip or a TikTok video of this guy, and he's sitting it was the same guy that did the bombing movie that we watched, the guy that Richard Jewell, that played Richard Jewell, same guy, and he's sitting in the window seat of the airplane, and they're descending, and the mother goes, and the daughter's sitting in this side, the mother's sitting right here, and she goes, "Hey, can my daughter just switch seats with you? She likes to watch out the window, and she's never flown before." And he goes, "No, and even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it because it's more important that your daughter learn the lesson. This is just not how life works. You don't get everything you want." You know? And I thought, you know, that's great. That's great, but you know, you know. Okay, so you know, I just hope it helped, and there's a way out, and the way out is to live in spirit, and to live in spirit means to be present, and it means taking a breath, and it means meditation, and it means whatever you have to do to put down the identity game for some period of time, off social media, off that stuff. That's the other problem that's compounding this, is that at least as kids, we went to school and we had the pressures of our peer group and we had all that, but at night there was relief. At night you had family time, that's all there was. And now the kids come home and they're stuck on their phones and they never get relief from that social media. Never get any relief from, like, you know, who they want to impress and who they're trying to prove about their identity. And so
Art, we were literally in court yesterday and my mom's sitting on the side and she pulls out her phone. She's like, "I gotta get a picture of you in court."
You're like, what?
Look at my son.
Pictures of you in court are burned in the mind.
Yeah. I can't get it out of my head. Yeah. In fact, that's all we have for the last 5 years, Tyler. I got to get a picture of you in court because we don't get one anywhere else.
Well, maybe she's excited because he actually showed up.
Yeah. All right.
FTA.
All right.
We get out of the car today and Kyle comes up and goes, "Tyler dipped."
I go, "What?" And I look and he's up on the
It's right there. It goes,
He
"Tyler
runs out
dipped."
the door going, "He left."
Go home. He's not here. No. So the relief is in the presence. The relief is in the breath. The relief is in mindfulness. The relief is in seeing. The awakening is in seeing I'm not that. I'm not art. I play art on TV. I'm not art, though. I'm this thing underneath. Art's just whatever collection of imagination that you guys think about him. But the truth is, I'm not. I play him on TV, and I don't have to be art all the time. And especially if, you know, I never have problems. Art does. You know? So it's a lot better to be me than art. Because arts could be filled with tons of bullshit problems. But as soon as I look, no, seriously. I mean, somebody come to me and they go, "Oh, tell me about your problems." And they tell me about your problems. And I say, "Good thing that's not you. Good thing that's your character's problems. Good thing that that's your little action figure's problems and not you. You can take a break from that. You can just have relief and be present." you can take a breath. Yeah. You can do it there too. Yeah. Okay, so went live in how many weeks, Ange?
May 16th. So is that 3 weeks from now?
3 weeks from now, we'll be live at Orion. We'll be back in town to do another one of these, but it'll be at the big place. And we'll see you next week. And once again, always got to tell you, it's an honor to talk to you and your families. And thank you for showing up. And we'll see you next week.